Bill Hubbard and I are old friends and colleagues, and we got together and put together a project under the Renewable Resources Extension Act, in which we wanted to promote the use of wood, and we wanted to share that ideas and information about it with extension agents across the Southeast. And today, our seminar is going to be about what we learned, our process for doing it, what we learned, and our tools that are out there now. This webinar is called Sustainable Wood Product Tools for State, District, and County Extension Professions, but we believe that it can be used by a lot more people. We do use a hashtag if any of you all are doing social media, and it is hashtag #AskForWood, all one word. Our website is going to be askforwood.com, and we'll show you that to you in a little bit. So why would you? We believe that keeping forest is very, very important for the economics of our states, especially here in the South, where Bill and I hail from. It is usually the number 1, 2, or 3 business in every one of our states. We also know it's very important for our ecosystem services. Our water, our better soils, better air, all of those things are provided by working forests, and only by keeping those forests can we continue to do that. Here in the Southeast, most of our lands are privately owned, so having a marketplace is important. In many of our around the country, forests are in crisis. We are seeing increases in disease, fire, insects, and declines. And that includes here in the Southeast. My state just went under an emerald ash borer effect. So we're all affected by many of these things that are out there in the environment. So really, forest management is very important to help with the pest management issues as we face this. So what about wood? What can it do? The wood marketplace is very broad. A large portion of our wood is used in construction. In the Southeast, and especially my state here in South Carolina, we have a large pulp and paper industry. In many areas of the country, energy is another portion of our product portfolio, and there are others. So in our state, for example, we have a large number of people who now rake and bale pine straw for use in landscapes. And so that's another one of the many examples of where landowners can recover funding and get a return on their investment from their wood. When we look at saw timber availability, this was done by the U.S. Forest Service, and we can see that in the Southeast, our saw timber numbers continue to grow as they have since 2007 in this chart. But in most of the South, we have more wood available now than we've had since we started measuring in 1938 across much of the country. These numbers continue to grow, and in some cases prices follow, and in some cases they're not. I've been looking at the latest data coming out, and prices are a little higher today, but our inventory is there, and we have the ability to produce more wood across the South if the markets are available. So let's look at why we might look at construction as an area. So construction wood is an area. In the United States in 2014, we had about $343 billion of construction in residential buildings and $330 billion in non-residential buildings. Those are about equal. And even if you look at the South Atlantic or even my little state of South Carolina, you can see they're pretty much about the same throughout that. So when we look at it, we see that in residential construction, which is about 51% of the nation's building, most of that, 88% of that wood, of that product, of that marketplace is built with wood. However, the 49% of construction that is non-residential, only about 12% of that marketplace is using wood as a building material. This is a pretty big difference when you consider there's 49% of it and we're only about 12% into that market with wood. So when we look at where can we grow for wood, for markets for our wood. The non-residential building component is an important component of where we have a growth market for our saw timber. In some of our states, and I will say this from South Carolina's point of view, we have a very wonderful pulp and paper market, but having places to put our saw logs is important, and we have a population of landowners that like to have marketplaces for those saw logs, and they'd like to have a little bit longer rotation than we had seen under former land ownership regimes. So why not wood in these non-residential markets? Part of it is a 20th century culture. So when the turn of the 20th century happened, we were building a lot with wood, but then there came the idea of the skyscraper. And while some of the first skyscrapers, or buildings that were 10 stories tall, happened with wood, not long after that, the Eiffel Tower was constructed in Paris, and the world became engrossed with very, very large buildings made of steel and then eventually concrete. At the same time, building codes came into place, and because of some of the building codes were meant to help with fire, with health and safety of people, there was a feeling that fire was a serious problem, and that to ban large buildings of wood was a good thing to do. And so building codes were actually enacted to reduce the amount of and types of buildings that could be built of wood. In our state, we had a ban on wood schools until about 10 or 15 years ago. And I know that occurred across many states. And I know Georgia had one also, and they've recently lost that. Another issue that we have going on is the lack of knowledge. As the 20th century culture and the desire to build big buildings came about, many of our architecture schools started teaching only about building with steel and concrete. In fact, we know of the 110 accredited architecture schools that there are in the United States today. Less than 50, somewhere around 35 to 40 of them, actually have an active class in which the word wood is used in the class title, or where someone who reported on a survey that was taken by Oregon State said that they taught how to use wood. So that's really not a large number of architecture programs that are training kids in architecture to build with wood. In the engineering world, it's almost even worse. While in the early parts of the 20th century and even up into the 1970s, most structural engineering programs taught a wood engineering course. Those have disappeared. And of the 300 ABET accredited programs in engineering, we now find that less than 50 of them teach on a regular basis a wood engineering class specifically for wood engineering. When Clemson first got involved in this, we were teaching a wood engineering class, but not every year. So we were teaching one about every 3 or 4 semesters. Over the last 2 years, we've moved to where we now teach that every semester. And this is going on across the country, and where we're not training engineers and architects, the ones who design and are involved with building most of the non-residential construction, how to use wood. We also know that there is an advantage to wood versus steel and concrete. You can build faster, quieter, cleaner. You can solve some of those pesky carbon issues that we have out there. And however you feel about climate change, you can feel that way. But carbon is an issue, and the fossil fuels used and the fossil products, fossil carbon that is used or produced during the manufacturing of steel and concrete is much, much larger than the fossil carbon that's released during the manufacturing of wood. And in fact, wood stores carbon and therefore becomes a better carbon issue. Wood is sustainable. And we know that we are growing more wood than ever before, and as long as we can talk about and help engineers and architects understand that sustainability is an important piece of this, we have a product to sell. There are two types of major construction that is going on in the United States: mass timber versus light frame. Light frame construction is the wood construction you see here in the foreground of this picture, in which you have 2x4s or 2x6s, along with plywood, OSB, or some other kind of panelized product around the outside edge. But mass timber is a new product or a new building system. So mass timber versus light frame are comparing two different types of building systems. Mass timber came to the United States in the last 8 years. It's fairly new. One of the first commercial buildings built with it was in Alabama. A hotel was constructed there about 3 years ago. There were some projects in Portland, Oregon, and in other areas of the country. But now we see more and more of that mass timber. Mass timber gives us the ability to be even more fast, more quiet, because you have large panels that come to the site already pre-constructed, and it's simply a matter of fastening them in place, most often with screws. So our goal and our project with the Renewable Resources Extension Act grant for a Southeastern product was to develop a toolkit that would allow folks in every part of the Southeast for sure, but we felt this was applicable all over, to help you understand how wood is being used and how we can use more of it. We wanted to promote all markets to increase wood use, and I would say that we've done a little bit more on our website, and I'll show you later, on construction uses, but I believe that we would like to build our website to add more on biomass energy and other types of wood use. We also wanted to be able to promote healthier forest, and again, that ties into, if you can harvest your forest, you are likely to have healthier forests. We wanted to help build better rural economies, and we know that forest management and working forest with a healthy forest-based economy can build rural economies. We also wanted to increase the ability to uptake and store CO2. And so by growing more forest and actively growing young forest, we can increase that CO2 uptake. And by putting putting that wood into furniture and buildings, and yes, even paper to some extent, we can store that carbon. So in order to get this done, we developed a regional wood summit, which was held here at Clemson. We had several invited talks on our first day that laid out the issues that we identified. We invited extension agents, wood professionals, and our statewide forestry commission forest state organizations to come in with their groups and help us. They provided feedback for us. They helped us to identify audience, and they helped us with our first selections of tools for our toolkit. What we learned at this event was that there is, a recognition of carbon and carbon storage, but how to present that to the public may not necessarily be easy, and especially if you're talking to even 4-H kids, helping them to understand how carbon uptake is and carbon storage may not be as easy. So that is one of the issues that we learned we needed to talk about. Wood products and energy. So one of those, that's an issue that came out as important and what needed to be done. The agents definitely felt that they really wanted to know how much was wood worth in the economy of their state. What was the value of doing this? What data was out there, and then what data did we need in the future? Another issue that most of us are often puzzled by are building codes. What's a building code? I know before I got involved with this program, I used to think that a building code was there to keep me from changing my deck or building a house or causing me issues. I've now learned that building codes are an essential to health and safety in buildings, and that there's a process by which they can be developed and changed and implemented, and that wood is now allowed in many cases in the building codes across our nation, because we do have a system of developing building codes on a national basis where they can be revised every 3 years, and that then within states and even within localities within states, a state, a locality, or a city, or a county even, may choose to adopt the latest building codes. But many people didn't even know what building codes were being used in their state. So we're going to show you a project or a product that allows you to learn more about the building codes and more about building codes where you are and what's being used. We also needed to talk about the new products and systems that are coming out with wood. And so there's a piece of learning about mass timber, learning about new types of construction, and staying current with that. And this is a rapidly developing area, and one that we'll be adding more and more of to our website as time goes on. So the agents said they wanted to make sure that they knew how to target the audiences and that they had materials that they could use with various audience. We wanted to give them tools that they could use with the public and with other agents. So for example, if you're a forestry extension agent and you have the opportunity to present to everyone in your extension system about these tools, we wanted to give you sort of a broad overview and then have materials there that even a food nutrition agent or a 4-H agent or an ag agent could use when they had to go out and talk or give a talk on an instant basis to someone in their county or their network. So we've even got things like that. So there are presentations for agents to use. There is a focus on the economics. So is wood economical, something about the rural economic value, and even a product locator that our agents really wanted help to see. They were also very interested in what carbon impact models were out there. There are several that have been developed, and we're going to put that, we are putting that, have put it in our tool box. Again, new products and systems, the building codes by state, the benefits of wood use. And more importantly, and I think this is something that's critical for us as we focus on wood, is that we need to raise awareness of all of those around us. It's the bully pulpit that extension has always had. One of the great things about having an extension agent in every county is that an extension agent gets to know the influencers. They get to know the people who are actually building buildings. They get to know everyone who has a voice, and they are often asked for their opinion. And so an educated extension agent can be a voice. No, and they don't have to be a forestry or wood products extension agent. We believe that every extension agent can be a voice in asking for wood and helping to build that side of the economy in all of our states across the United States. So we wanted to build what we call the Ask for Wood Toolkit. And Bill and I and a group of us sat down in a room one day and said, what can we do? What's it mean? And so the Ask for Wood idea came up. Because what we're trying to do is give you the tools so that whenever you meet somebody and they're building a building, or they're thinking about energy, or they're thinking about whether they should use paper products or not, that you can feel comfortable looking at them and saying, yes, ask for wood, ask for a wood product in your next decision making. There is knowledge going to be on this website. All of the tools that we're acquiring are going to be there, housed there, so that you'll always have a one-stop shop to go. And again, It's not just for extension agents, but that was our main focus. But I think that anyone who visited the Ask for Wood website would find things that they could find. And we're pulling materials from a variety of places such that you can find it at one site. Definitely want to say thank you to all of the locations that we're pulling from, and they've all agreed to let us host their materials. So know that we tried not to create a lot of new materials. We're just selecting materials and adding to the website so it's easier for folks to find. We will be featuring new innovations, and we will be answering questions. And so there's even a frequently asked questions session on the first of this, so that if you have questions, maybe someone else wants those same questions answered. So we'll try to answer those questions as we go. We believe, again, that extension agents are agents of change, and that they can make a difference in how we develop our state economies, our state forests, and how we develop even our building codes. So we believe that with this way, we can have healthier forests and better rural economies. So with that, why don't we start on a tour of our Ask for Wood website. So the Ask for Wood website is www.askforwood.com. And by the way, the picture there is the Botanical Garden in Atlanta. So hopefully this is going to come up. Okay, so here's our website. As we go up, and I'll try to max it out so that you can see it. The first buildings that are sliding across your screen are just several of the latest buildings that are built with wood. The one now, or the one that was just up, is an 18-story dormitory in British Columbia. So we think that there's more to learn about urban construction. That picture is from the airport at Raleigh, I think. So when you step into our website, as you can see, we have FAQs that are up there about why you should choose wood, and just giving you an overview in this section, and again, an overview of the sponsors here. But little questions, and we hope to build those questions as we go more and more. So why wood? And I apologize, this new system is not working very well. We've covered building codes, economics, the environment, forest health, and renewability. And for every one of these sections here, at the bottom of the website, there are a series of publications and resources that you can use. But over here, we'll go further into them. And so you can learn a little bit more about what are building codes, the economics, including breaking out publications and resources for you there. Forest health and renewability, again, breaking out resources here. And just to give you an example, here is a publication on the impact of wood use on North American forests. So can certifying wood forest buildings contribute to forest sustainability? If someone wanted to ask you about it, you'd be able to pull this up and download it and just hand it to somebody, so that they would have a tool at their hand. So then we move into the learning area. So these are where we have a lot of different types of videos, presentations, case studies, publications, and other websites where you can find more about what's out there. So here's an example of one of the videos.
From a cost perspective, it's really about the speed of erection. When you have a building like T3 and you prefabricate it off-site, it means that all the components of the building come to the site like pieces of Lego on a truck, and you literally just take them from a truck, put them onto the building. It means you can erect, for example, 30,000 square foot floor plate in as little as a week, which is incredibly fast, a lot faster than you can do it with steel, and order of magnitude faster than you can do it with concrete.
There's an efficiency the way they're constructed, and that's always beneficial to any project to have something which can be built with quality and be built quicker or cheaper.
Wood is significantly lighter than concrete, and so now your foundation costs come down, and all the support structure that supports those floors, and particularly as you're going taller and taller and taller, and those loads start to accumulate. now you're cutting your loads down by half. And that's significant. So now you're getting foundation savings.
So in the future, we want to build everything out of mass timber. We're converts. We've done a couple buildings now with mass timber. One of them was CLT. We think it's very efficient. Just seeing the construction speed and the teamwork that was able to get that to happen really seamlessly, I think that's great. And we want to keep doing that. We want to be able to do it taller and larger, and then also kind of figure out other ways of using it.
So that's an example of one of the videos that's out on our website. But there are more, and you can just explore. Many of these are great little videos or designs that you can use at any time. And then there are presentations that have been developed, and you can go into these presentations, download them, and they come with a script. So if you want to talk about tall wood, or if you want to talk about construction materials and their environmental costs, you can download those presentations, and they're there for you to use. And Bill, with that, there are case studies and publications. Let me just point that out. And here we go, all kinds of things there. And other websites where you can find more resources. So that's there. And Bill, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you explore the tools section. So this is what the tools section looks like.
Okay, and Pat, if you wouldn't mind stopping sharing, and I'll see if I can share.
I got to find my stoppy sharing.
Maybe I can do it without you. Maybe I can override it.
Yeah, I think you can, Bill, if you just go ahead and start sharing. There you go.
Okay, great. Thanks. Well, for all of you that have met Pat Layton before, you know how infectious she is when she comes up with ideas and gets a hold of ideas. And as she mentioned, a couple of dirt foresters that have fallen in love with the wood industry and the use of wood and the knowledge that we really need to be helping our wood products industry and compadres out, and that means trying to provide some tools and some information to the local level. So we were really pleasantly surprised when we had such a good turnout at Clemson to give us some input into this project. And again, I think those of you that are on would agree with me that wood is so diverse. Just the thousands of different species out there and the types of wood products, and it's very economical, we see, and it's got such great durability and sustainability. And last but not least, it's just a beautiful, beautiful resource. And so it's pretty easy to get excited about a project like this. And I don't think it's just us. I think if you've seen the recent report out from the endowment there, the Blue Ribbon Commission on Forest and Forest Products report, a good chunk of that talks about the need for all the universities and the Forest Service research and other groups to begin working more effectively to solve some of our wood products needs. That, from the sounds of it, from the research that was done with that report, that's among the most important and one that with the greatest payoffs if we can do more wood products research, how to get wood in use. So I'm all for this project. We're going to keep it going as long as we can. We're going to talk a little bit about how to keep it going. But a couple of tools that I wanted to show, and let's go back. Let's see if we can. So once you click on tools, you'll get a great little project and a product that our office, the Southern Regional Extension Forestry Office, worked with the Southern Group of State Foresters and the USDA Forest Service to create what we call a forest products locator tool. And it's a fairly simple tool on the front end. The back end requires each of the states in our region to update spreadsheets, georeference spreadsheets, and provide those to us. And we're working with the Midwestern states to update, to create this tool for them as well. But for those of you that can see the site here, you can tell that all these icons, you can basically search using the map by going in and out. You can drill down. Hopefully this is something you can see on your computer. And then as you drill down, you can see these different icons represent different mill types. So this is a sawmill located between Alexander City and Rockford. And so this product really is useful for forest managers that are interested in where they might sell forest products from private forest lands. That's interesting, useful for others in the wood using industry. The data, obviously the tool is only as good as the data that we get. And so we work very hard to work with each of these states to get that data and that information. But you can find this information by various states. We can go into South Carolina, for example. As you drill down, you can see this area, there's 163 mill types, chip mills all the way through shavings. And you can drill down there and get that information geo-referenced. You can even drill down into county-based information. So it's a nice little tool. It's actually grown to include not just the primary forest products, but also the secondary forest products as well. So this link, I believe, provides you with a merger between those two directories. But if you want to split those out, just go to forestproductslocator.net.org or .com, and that'll get you your information. So again, the kudos to the Services Utilization and and Marketing Subcommittee of the Southern Group of State Foresters, with some oversight from the Forest Service to develop that. So Pat saw this, and some of the attendees saw this in Clemson and thought it'd be a great tool to put on there as we promote the use of wood in building and in other activities. That's just one of the tools we have online. Once you go there, you can see there's some great information. Here's a really neat website, and of course, we're very interested in what you might have to offer, ideas, suggestions. But this particular tool can give you a pretty good idea on basically Forest Service FIA data. It can drill down to the different survey units, the Forest Service Forest Inventory and Analysis survey units. And as you mouse over these, for example, you can see the standing square meters volume in each of these counties. And that's really a nice opportunity, and it's broken down by species. And so again, the idea is for this to be used at the local level. So somebody at the local level in Rabun County, Stevens County, can get a real handle on the volume of timber in their county and the opportunities to use that wood sustainably in various and sundry wood products ventures. So again, the goal is to bring this down to a county-based educator, be they with Extension Service or with the Southern Group of State Foresters, state forestry agencies, rural development activists, anybody that has an interest in rural development and rural economic improvement and has an interest in wood can use these materials. And so, I said, I think the county extension agents and the county state forestry service foresters are agents of change. They're the ones that have regular communication at the local level and can have a real impact. And these are the tools that we hope they can use. Pat can tell you a little bit more about how to use this code adoption map, but there's some good details broken down by state. You get a little more details. I think there's a link to their website there, the state code agency websites. And this, from the sounds of it, from what I hear from Pat and others, is possibly a big barrier, or we can look at it as an opportunity really to overcome if we want to bring in more wood into the flow. Pat, did you have anything to say about that tool in particular?
Yeah, it's important to understand what building codes are being used in your state and that your state is regularly adopting building codes. I'll give you an example of why this is important. Last year, I believe in Sandy Springs, Georgia, they actually banned the use of buildings made out of wood that are more than 3 stories tall, 3 stories and up. So we really do have to watch the issues such that we aren't banning that. I think the state of Georgia is on a mission right now to overturn that. I think there's a bill going through there right now to say that no municipality can ban a material. But yeah, there are threats to this. And in fact, right now, there is an opportunity this year to where we are going to utilize the materials we're doing with mass timber and actually increase the height of buildings that can be built with wood. Right now, I think it's about 4 stories only, or 4 on a podium, a concrete podium, to where we can have a building code by 2021 that will allow up to, I believe, 18-story wood buildings. And these are mass timber buildings with lots of different ways of doing it. That vote is going on right now. So if you know a fire marshal or anyone who's involved in building codes, that's going to be coming up for vote right now. So if you'd like to learn more about that, don't hesitate to contact us or the American Wood Council or some of the folks who are involved in this about what's going on increasing the height of buildings that can be built with wood legally under the building codes in states. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Pat. So there's a couple of carbon calculators here from Woodworks, and another one that's actually a state agency, Alabama Forestry Commission, has a handy little carbon calculator based on stump. And then the Woodworks down here is kind of neat. You can calculate, you can get some more information on carbon calc. You can download that carbon calculator from there. Heights and areas calculator. Again, some of these are designed to demystify a lot of what's going on that typically was, I guess, sequestered more in the engineering world and the building construction world. And so I think through Pat's efforts and others, we're trying to get everybody working together a little bit more across the region, across the country, for a very good cause. One final tool I wanted to definitely show you a little bit about is our forestry.impacts.net website. And this one is another joint effort between Extension, Forest Service, and the state forestry agencies. Again, just the southern region for now, but it hosts all of the economic impact reports and some data sources probably for the last 8 or 10 years, both from the regional perspective. We've got regional reports, but also state level reports. We've got the housing commentaries that Urs Bullen puts together every month, and we've done some general economic impact work for the state foresters and others. And so all that's online here at forestry.impacts.net. And you should find some very current information from your state here if you're looking to use that to promote the use of wood and the importance of forestry and healthy forests in your state. We do have an initiative now, we hope, that will provide even more tools locally for state forestry agencies and Extension and others as we try to narrow down, or at least drill down to the economic impact of forestry and wood products is at the county level. It's a little trickier there, but we have some experts working on that, some forest economists and others that think we can develop a really cool, useful tool for local level use. So that's kind of a summary of the tools. I know we did want to have just a couple parting shots that we are very interested in your help and your involvement, your critique. First of all, let us know what you think about this. Again, this was developed through a competitive grant process, just a 2-year project that paid for some salary for some people for Pat and I to help develop this website, paid for our meeting in Clemson to get the best minds together. We want to grow this nationally. We want to grow it topic, be able to put more tools up there so that you can have a little turnkey meeting, download a PowerPoint presentation, or maybe even some train the trainer kinds of e-learning modules where you're at the local level and you need to know more about building codes and what that means for the wood wood products initiatives that we have, all these kinds of things. So this is really the start of something that we hope to be very, very big. We'll host this as long as we have a Southern Regional Extension Forestry office, and we'll keep it current as we can. With that, Pat, I'll give you the last word, because again, you spent some long hours getting that proposal up and running. So if you want to just have the last word, then maybe Mark can see if there are any questions or comments for us.
Sure. I'd like to thank the USDA, NIFA group, and the Renewable Resources Extension Act, all of the folks who attended our meeting, gave us comments. I'd also like to reach out and thank Think Wood and the American Wood Council for their support and their sharing, and the WREC, which is out of the Forest Service in West Virginia, for their work and their support and some of their materials that we've used. It's been a collaborative effort. I think it's going to continue to be a collaborative effort, and it will only get better by all of us being out there and always asking, when somebody's building something, are you using wood? Have you asked for wood? Because we know, and I found this on my own university, they were building a building up the street, and I asked the architect, why aren't you using wood 2x4s on the interior office walls? And he goes, y'all didn't ask for it. The owners didn't ask for it. So you gotta ask for wood. It's not first in their bag of tricks when the architect designs something if you're not asking for wood.
Okay, great. We'll take if anyone has any questions, you can put them in either Q&A and chat, and we'll see them there. The only thing I see right now is Rajan says, any ongoing research on mass timber production in the U.S. South?
I'll answer that one. Yes, there are a good many people doing some research on mass timber in the U.S. South. Mass timber here, in this case for me, means glulam, cross-laminated timber, dow-laminated timber, nail-laminated timber, LVLs, and others. We have been doing projects here at Clemson, but several of our other universities, such as Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, Mississippi State, LSU, are also actively involved in research on those areas. The first cross-laminated timber plant in the southeastern United States using southern yellow pine is being built and equipped in Dothan, Alabama, scheduled to open at the end of 2018. And I would say there's a lot going on. And we're working, Virginia Tech has been working a lot with hardwoods and using hardwoods to develop CLT also. They've used especially wood from yellow poplars, but there's been some work also in other hardwoods around the country. So it is a large group of people that are working. And there's a mass timber conference that will be held. It's held in this year in Portland. It's being held now for the third year, and so a lot of research gets presented there.
Wonderful. An anonymous attendee says, "Can we develop a building? Can we develop a building code that prohibits painting a beautiful wooden building pink like the one Pat showed?"
I'm not sure which pink building there was, but some of those are products. If it was in process, some of that pink is actually a fire retardant treated a painting or coating. But no, there is no changing people's taste.
Okay.
But remember the big rule for wood products: don't let it get wet, keep it out of the rain, and don't let untreated wood get wet again. So that's always one of the things we have to remember about, is we've always got to protect wood from the water.
You know, Pat, I'm not sure if panelists are allowed to ask questions or not of other panelists, but maybe we could just throw this out for the group. But as we were talking, I just thought what this potential for this tariff that might be implemented on steel. Is it steel and aluminum? I don't know if you've been following that, but I think a potential 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum from from all countries, but I guess in particular concern about material coming in from China. But that may, in and of itself, have, I hadn't thought about this, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe that'll have people thinking about alternatives to steel. And we should be ready for that then, I guess, if this really does come about as they think it will.
Yes, that's true. And I will say there is a lot of potential for increasing the use. But again, we have a lot of wood, and we were asked, there was a question about wildlife and soils and wildlife habitat. And I think that one of the most dynamic studies that I saw that was very interesting was one that was done, I think, by Forestry Markets. And it showed that where you have an active forest market, a mill of some type that's using wood, that the forest in that area are actually increasing in productivity. So where there's a market for the wood, there actually is an increase in the productivity of the forest land base around that. And because that land base more and more today includes the demand for wildlife habitat, because we're going more and more to private landowners, at least in the South, we are seeing that those kinds of things are taken care of. So we think it's a win-win that working forests provide more wildlife habitat, more water quality, more air quality, better forest soils, and provide product that we can use, such as some of these mass timber new products.
And I can't,
smaller scale, yes.
Let me, can I interrupt? And just quickly to answer that question again, a little bit different way, but really appreciate that comment. And this is a great opportunity to talk about, just briefly introduce the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, which is a 20-year-old initiative of the forest industry to ensure sustainable soils, wildlife, water, recreation, you name it. So if you don't know about the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, do a Google research on that, and you'll find that the industry is working very closely with private landowners, public landowners, to ensure that we can really have increased productivity and use of timber from our woods, and in fact, we can benefit and enhance some of these resources. So good question.
And Susan, if you want research on that specifically, I'm not sure which one. If you want the habitat stuff, I can send you the forest market stuff. I will say that, are there any examples of products that are using mass timbers for smaller scale buildings, such as sheds and decking? There has been work in Montana and for where you can buy the pieces and actually almost create the buildings yourself. I've seen barns, sheds, decks done. We are seeing that more and more. We are building our first CLT building here on our campus at Clemson. It's only about 18,000 square feet, and we hope to have more after that. So they don't have to be huge buildings. You can do them, but it is one where you want to look at speed versus cost, and what's available to you. So it is one that you're going to have to look at. Certainly, we've been doing work here on, if you're building a building like on the coast, can the floor panel, for example, of a mass timber building come out and be the floor of your deck and it be cantilevered out? And the answer is yes. So there's lots of work going on there in that area. So yeah, you could actually build decks into the whole flooring system. It's just one solid piece. Lots of big, interesting things on that. And you'll see more if you go on the website or visit some of these discussions. There are multiple projects being known now. You saw someone posted about the one in New Jersey. That's a 500,000 square foot building going up in New Jersey, designed by Michael Green Architecture. I think the other thing to watch for as you go forward in the future, we are seeing more and more what some people call prefabrication or modular. But these are where buildings are actually, the wall systems are getting put in place. Sometimes whole rooms, like a hotel room, are being built inside of a factory and brought to a site and then stacked up, and hotels are created. And when they arrive on site, the bed's in them, everything's in them. They have connections for the plumbing and the wiring, and it's just amazing. It's all done in a factory. So many more opportunities, because in some places we don't have labor, we don't have time, your winters may be short or long, and you really need to look at this. So the next phase, not only of just mass timber, but is more of this modular construction, bringing whole walls to the place, onto the building site, and just having them go up very quickly. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any. If we will maybe give folks just another 30 seconds or 1 minute, last chance if you have any questions, folks. Yeah, I put that one about the one in New Jersey. I just happened to, I read the Wall Street Journal pretty regularly, and it just happened to come to mind that I had read that within the last few weeks. I had read an article that they had done on that, so I thought it was pretty cool that you could, it just had never occurred to me that you could build a building that large with wood.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's, from a social standpoint, like certainly this sustainability part is people are all for that, but maybe for somebody like me who doesn't know anything about these kinds of things, maybe you have to get past a certain mental threshold of understanding or being okay that you're in a skyscraper that's made of wood rather than concrete and steel.
Yeah, I think you would find it's actually quieter, and that's what people are saying when they're in these buildings. That there's a sense. In fact, there's the hotel in Alabama. People have complained it's too quiet, that they can't even hear the outside or the noise that you would normally hear in a hotel.
Is there any? I haven't heard any energy. Is there any as far as heating and cooling goes? Are there any advantages to wood over? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. Wood is a better built. There's a video on the Forte project in Melbourne, Australia, that's on the Ask for Wood website. And there they find that the building itself stays around, I think around 20 degrees C, which is about, perfect room temperature year round, even given the changes in temperature in Melbourne. And that's, I think, a 9-story, 10-story building. But there's lots of information out there about that. So yes, we are finding that it is better.
Great. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions. Any closing thoughts?
Thank you. And I think that Bill and I would love to take input on how we can make this website better and provide more tools for you, and expand it and be a central resource for all of us in the world.
Okay, great. All right, I'm putting a link to the. Most of you probably came here via this Learn link, but a link to the recording will be available here within a few days. So feel free to share that with any colleagues or friends that might not have been able to join us.
I did see a couple of Q&As. Let me just say, bamboo construction is important. And this, we are testing for earthquakes on all of the wood construction as well as the bamboo construction. I know that's a big issue. And Sandra, thank you. As always, we should plant more trees. As an old forest geneticist, plant trees, plant trees, plant trees. Thank you.
All righty. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.